I told the story the other day. One of the young guys that I personally would love to have, and you guys don't know him yet because he's a high school player right now. He's a senior. He lives in Pennsylvania. He's a young guy named Tariq Evans, and he's a 6'5" point guard, shooting guard combo. Phenomenal player. I mean, silky smooth. I mean, just has a phenomenal game, and I could easily see him being a Jordan guy. And so we might look at somebody like him to come in and create some new concepts around him, and maybe even a couple other young guys who could really kind of establish our business early on with a lot of young kids that, you know, already look up to those type of guys, and then also, you know, if they happen to pan out and be success stories as they go to the league. Most of these guys are like one and done in college and going on to the league. There's potential, you know, as they kind of accelerate themselves through the league, you know, they could mean something more for us. But right now we haven't, I mean, there was just talk about kind of who those next guys are. We've got our eye on a few guys.
Yeah, you've got that nice mix, as you said,
yeah.
from the young and the old.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Do you see you guys maybe branching outside of basketball or sport altogether? Like I noticed at the Grammys, Kanye was wearing a shoe that had a lot of Jordan influences in it, and like, is that going to be a shoe, or do you see yourself working with maybe hip hop artists or stuff like that?
Oh yeah. Actually, the 6 Rings. Actually, I'm doing a shoe with Nelly. That shoe right there. I did a special kind of version for Nelly. Got one for Fat Joe coming. Got one for Will Smith coming. So some entertainers, we're going to do kind of special versions of it. But yeah, in the States, those guys have a huge influence on our consumer, and so yeah, we'll definitely do some things with them. They're a big part of kind of, you know, the whole athlete formula in the States works for some people, but you know, the hip hop culture has meant so much that the entertainment world has really kind of influenced a lot of guys. And it used to be where, you know, basketball players used to want to be entertainers, and the entertainers want to be basketball players. So, you know, so now we're starting to get kind of a bunch of those guys that we're going to try to work with. Not so much look to sign anybody per se, but do a lot of collaborations with those guys. So, is that it?
How come Jordan Brand hasn't approached motorcycle racing, like in terms of apparel?
Yeah, so we actually, to be honest with you, so there's a lot of things that I kind of even talked about today, and one of the things I think we have to be careful with as a brand is to not spread ourselves too thin, because every time you start to jump into these other areas, it means additional resources, and you know, more resources you add to it, the more that detracts from the bottom line. And so what we don't want to do is just do a whole lot of nothing. You know, we want to try to be focused and not spread ourselves too thin. But because the world of motor racing is Michael's love, what we do is we actually have a deal with he has actually Michael Jordan Motorsports, which is another subdivision of his personal brand. But they use our logo, and so everything that is used on the logo we have to approve. And they actually do like leather jackets that have all the protective stuff in it.
The Joe Rocket stuff?
Yeah. So there's a little bit of that. Not a lot out there. We struggle a little bit with that just because some of the stuff, like from a design world, how they come at it, it just really is kind of, it doesn't, we think, represent what the brand is. And so we end up, in a lot of ways, when they send us these raggedy designs, we end up going back and redoing them and making them right for them. So right now, I would say probably no. Everything is going to kind of continue to go through that world, because they're experts in how to make that stuff. And we got a lot of other stuff that we're trying to put on our plate to kind of make happen. So I don't think we'll do anything with it right now, but definitely we'll see what happens as the Joe Rocket piece kind of continues to evolve.